Welcome to the Now. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm Turney.
Steam Early Access is the promised land of video games where gamers and developers meet free of publishers to give each other high fives and unicorn kisses.
Except when the developers act like a bunch of greedy jerks.
No, unicorn kisses for you, whatever unicorn kisses are. It just sounds like a euphemism for getting your horn stuck. Anyway, the latest in a string of early access controversies, Otherland is a new MMO by Drago Entertainment. Well, kind of new. It's actually been around for a couple years in closed beta, but it's new as early access anyway, by Drago Entertainment that's based on the Tad Williams novels of the same name. In the Tad Williams novels, the internet's turned into an enormous virtual reality network that hides all kinds of crazy conspiracies and brotherhoods. How, by the way, is Tad Williams not more famous on the internet, the gathering place for cat fanatics everywhere? The man wrote Tail Chaser's song, for God's sake. It's like a love letter to Tolkien starring cats, but I digress. But seriously, how has everyone not read it?
It's like Watership Down, but better.
Right, it's like without quite the heart feels.
Yeah, well, and also kind of the boringness, because Watership Down was a hard read. Okay, I digress also.
It was a class.
It also seems like Drago Entertainment could be taking a couple of tinfoil hat cues from the author and exercising some creative writing of their own in the form of fake Steam reviews. We'll be the first to say that many of these are Pulitzer-worthy.
When Otherland first launched, the Steam reviews were mostly negative, with a laundry list of complaints, some of which included false advertising, saying the game didn't have any PvP like promised, which is kind of a big issue.
Yeah.
Horrible optimization, and the inability to even run at 20 FPS consistently. Come on, even Arkham Knight can run at 20 FPS on PC.
Unless you're in the Batmobile, then all bets are off.
Maybe you just need 12 gigs of RAM.
Since then, the game has received hundreds of positive Steam reviews from people who have very little time logged in the game, no other Steam reviews associated with their accounts, and a less than stellar grasp of the English language.
You're so polite.
Oh. Well, some of the overly positive reviews for this broken game have been removed. Some of the more hilariously suspicious reviews are still there, with phrases like, "You are likewise ready to alter your Scorch, however, not that much like in different game." And I exceptionally prescribe this to any individual who likes MMORPGs, or you are simply searching for a game to smolder hours on.
I know a good old Scorch altering is what I'm looking for in my MMO.
What could they possibly be going for that they got Scorch for?
I don't even know. At least like the smolder hours I can get, like that's a burning time.
Yeah, like burning through time.
But altering my Scorch, I really don't know. These are exceptionally prescribed reviews, are quite the turnaround from a game that's only averaged around 8 players online for the last month, and many of them seem deliberately written to counter the exact complaints that negative reviews have been raising.
And none of this is mentioning that Drago allegedly took the servers offline for the first 3 hours of early access to get around that pesky 2 hours played refund policy.
Well done.
I love it. I'm just like, they're the Hamburglar now. But did Drago actually write a bunch of fake reviews to bolster their game's Steam rating? Not according to them, although they did acknowledge some foul play.
Wow, plot twist. Take some notes for a future Otherland books, Tad. Yes. After the accusations, Drago Entertainment put up a statement on the game's discussion forum explaining, "To be clear, Drago did not buy any reviews. We did give keys to a bunch of people as part of sweepstakes or promotions, including partners, testers, friends, as is common in the industry. We are investigating this and will have questionable reviews, about a dozen, as we can see, removed. However, I also like to point out that we got many negative reviews in a similar manner, that is, from accounts with limited playtime and no other reviews."
Shots fired. Suck it, negative reviewers. How dare you tell us how badly our game actually plays?
Of course, this isn't the first time that nefarious ne'er-do-wells have used Steam for dastardly gains. We all remember Journey to the Light, don't we? The Steam Greenlight game that touted its extreme puzzle difficulty as one of its major selling points. Will you ever be able to figure it out? These crazy puzzles, they're so hard. People were stumped for months on the first level alone.
As it turned out, we weren't all idiots. The game's first puzzle was literally unsolvable. And not only that, but there was only one level in the game's code at all, rather than the 8 like the developer had promised. Whoopsie.
Before that, there was Towns, the first big early access controversy on Steam. I think it was the first. It was really early on. Anyway, and one of the first 10 Greenlight projects. If you don't remember Towns, it was a super promising sounding RPG/God game with a fun 16-bit isometric style. I want to play that game, right? You played as the town constantly affected by a hero's foray into the local dungeon.
What actually ended up happening is that you were the player affected by a completely unfinished game. After selling
Thumbs
200,
up.
yeah, and also a bunch of them down. After selling 200,000 copies with revenue exceeding $2 million, developer Mobius abandoned the project altogether, stating that the game wasn't selling as well as hoped and that they were experiencing some major burnout.
Maybe they altered their scorch.
Yeah, it must have been so hard crying into those wads of cash.
But don't worry, they're talking about making a sequel. Apparently, a well-known player in game development has expressed interest in acquiring the rights to Towns.
Abuse of early access actually caused Valve to update the early access FAQ page, stating, "You should be aware that some teams will be unable to finish their game.
Finish in quotes.
So you should only buy an early access game if you are excited about playing it in its current state."
Does this mean that everything on early access is a scam, just itching to steal money straight out of your wallet? No, not at all. In fact, Valve still wholeheartedly believes that this is how games are supposed to be made, and the fact of the matter is that early access is big business for Valve. Half of the biggest selling games on Steam are in early access, which is a pretty shocking number considering just how many AAA titles you can also get from the service, and also considering that 3 out of 4 early access games are unfinished.
But for all the rough, we mean very rough games out there. There are still plenty of diamonds, like Knocked, the top-down survival shooter where you play with an eye-in-the-sky view and are directed by a mysterious radio operator. There's also Stranded Deep, the still buggy but effective first-person survival game where you're on a procedurally generated Pacific island. That is a tongue twister.
Likewise, Don't Starve Together is an amazingly fun co-op follow-up to the popular Don't Starve. We played that for Game Club. We did so much fun. Oh, and they've got Shipwrecked coming out soon. Can we get a release date for that, please? That would be really great. Help us, Clay, please.
Yay.
And we also can't leave games like Darkest Dungeon, Besiege, Ark, and DayZ out of the mix. However you feel about DayZ, it's a big hit on early access. There are plenty of awesome early access games to play.
In a lot of ways, Steam has become its own strange ecosystem, and most of that is driven by players and the content they create. Now, it's part of what makes Steam so interesting, but at the same time, it gives developers like Drago a few tools to exploit players. Overland took advantage of the goodwill generated by positive Steam reviews, but they wouldn't have been able to do that if Steam reviews, in the hands of players, weren't so damn powerful. Overall, it is a good thing.
Yeah, games like Journey to the Light, Towns, and their kind might still be available on Steam, but each one of those games has since been completely bombed with hundreds of negative reviews warning other players to stay far away. And who could forget the fiasco of paid mods launched by Bethesda and Valve last year? All that extremely negative Steam reviews on Skyrim, that had an effect. They actually got them to pull the paid mods and rethink the program altogether.
This user-generated content has even morphed into Steam groups who act like watchdogs, not the mediocre Ubisoft game, which had so much promise, for shady practices on Steam, such as Scam Report and groups like Frame Rate Police to keep users safe from 30 frames per second.
Because that's a crime.
It is.
Which means that the user-generated content is actually working as intended. It's not a perfect system, but it's pretty much the best we're gonna get.
Always gonna have your bad apples.
Yeah, always. But this way, players can help police and minimize them. Steam reviews are where players can fight back against the tyranny of shiesty game developers. So keep on keeping on. You help Steam reviewers and ignore those scorch-altering positive reviews of bad games like Otherland. It was only a matter of time before someone tried to use your power against you.
To stay ahead of the latest Steam news and exceptionally prescribed early access titles like this video, and subscribe to the know. I was holding in a burp this whole time, and now I held it in too long, and it's gone.
Uh-oh. I mean, it's Extra Life this weekend.
Yeah, we're going to the Renaissance Festival on the coming street.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That should be fun.
On set, please.
My tummy. This is my burp dance.
You got it yet? We exceptionally prescribe it.
Scorch.
Ta-da!